What's up, addicts? Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. In this video, we are looking at Keenan Allen and his fantasy outlook for 2020. But before we get started, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button for more videos like this one going through all 32 NFL teams. And also check out our website, fantasyaddictionnetwork.com, for a full list of rankings that will be updated all the way until the kickoff of the 2020 season. But without further ado, let's take a look at Keenan Allen. Now, last year, another very efficient season, starts his career off with 4 years being hampered by injury. And then over the last 3 years, he's been very consistent and been on the field the vast majority of the time. Finishes the year with 104 receptions, nearly 1,200 receiving yards, and 6 total touchdowns. He's had 6 touchdowns 3 seasons in a row. He finishes this season with 261.5 fantasy points, sixth best at wide receiver, and 16.3 fantasy points per game. That is eighth best. For anyone that owned Keenan Allen, you probably remember the bargain that you felt like you got at the beginning of the year, and then it dipped off towards the middle and then picked back up again towards the end of the year. So he starts the season off finishing as a wide receiver one, a two, and then finishing as a top six wide receiver on the week, 43.6 points with 17 targets against Houston. And then he goes on a 6 game stretch where you're probably not happy that you were starting him. And then finally turns things around again, playing against the Raiders, and only has one more game outside of the wide receiver three range for the remainder of the season. So while the start to the season was a lot hotter than the finish, he still was a very solid receiver that helped a lot of people maintain that floor that you're hoping to get from a wide receiver two, wide receiver three. And I really appreciate the work that Keenan Allen has done. I've had him a lot of leagues over the past couple years and really appreciate and love him as a player, but I am highly concerned with the change to the quarterback, that is going to do to Keenan Allen. Last year he had 150 targets, which is fifth most at the wide receiver position. Tyrod Taylor has never targeted a receiver over 100 times in his entire career. Now, it's not like there's that many other guys outside of Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, and the other running backs and Hunter Henry. There's not really anyone of note and not really anyone threatening for targets. So I do think that Keenan Allen will be the first receiver, assuming health and Tyrod plays the whole year. I believe he'd become the first receiver that has over 100 targets. But I don't think we can expect nearly as many deep shots, nearly as many risky throws that Philip Rivers was throwing up last year. I know Philip Rivers had a lot of interceptions last year, but he was pretty accurate overall. Keenan Allen's catchable target rate last season was 84%, which was 11th best in the NFL. And he made a lot with the targets that he did get. 26% target share, it's number 9 in the NFL. Yards per target was 8, so that was a little bit lower, but that has a lot to do with getting 150 targets. Yards after the catch, always been a good solid part of Keenan Allen's game. Finishes the year at the 9th most yak and finishes the season with a little bit disappointing true catch rate of 82.5%, but it wasn't terrible either. So there's a lot of ambiguity. If Tyrod Taylor plays the whole season, I don't think that's going to spell very good news for Keenan Allen. While I don't think that Tyrod Taylor is a bad quarterback, I think similarly to how we felt about T.Y. Hilton last year with Jacoby Brissett. He's probably going to still have some good games, but there's going to be plenty of games where they're just not seeing the same volume that you did for Keenan Allen. If you take 3 targets away per game, that's going to really hamper his upside and his ceiling for the whole year. Now, you are getting him at a discount this year because of this, so he's probably still being priced pretty reasonably in terms of ADP because you can typically get him in the 5th round, which I'm okay with taking the risk there, but you have to recognize that the ceiling that he used to have is pretty much gone unless, well, of course, what could happen is Tyrod Taylor flames out first couple weeks, and then Justin Herbert comes on. If Justin Herbert can acclimate quickly to the NFL and actually play really well, then Keenan Allen could be right back into a similar situation. But typically, what we've seen with rookie quarterbacks, especially ones that aren't the most high profile of high profile guys, they don't typically throw the ball a ton in their rookie season. We know this is a team that probably wants to run the ball first and not rely on the passing game nearly as much as they did last year with Philip Rivers having top 10 in terms of total passes. So we're expecting that to shift slightly. And It's just hard to imagine Keenan Allen having near the upside that he did last year. So that's why we still give him a decent upside ranking, because if Mike Williams goes down or Austin Eckler gets hurt or Hunter Henry, who's prone to injury, then by nature of volume alone, Keenan Allen will still be pretty valuable, but it could still be a pretty up and down season even if that occurs. So it's hard to really give him an upside ranking above 3. We have him projected right now for 87 receptions and 1,000 receiving yards, 6 total touchdowns. We'll just keep the trend of 6 touchdowns each year, but that's still a pretty healthy decrease from where he finished last year, about 40 fantasy points less, which isn't terrible if he's your wide receiver 3, but if you're expecting him to be able to perform in the same way that he did in the past couple of years, I think you're going to be a bit disappointed. It's not like you have to completely avoid him, and there's plenty of other players with risks going around the 5th round, but I'm not as thrilled with taking him around there. There's guys as well that I feel have much greater upside that we'll get into in some other videos. So most likely not going to end up with too many Keenan Allen shares this year for all the reasons we laid out, especially if the season starts off slow. He's going to become a primary buy target in trades. If Tyrod Taylor comes out and is stinking up the place, you can take a shot at Keenan Allen, try to get him off the owner's hands that's disappointed in the beginning of the season, and then hope that Justin Herbert can turn things around. But it could just be a gross year all around. Even if he ends up with the numbers that we projected, most of those could come in 3 really good games and then have the rest of the weeks pretty disappointing. So he could really turn into a boom bust receiver that we're not used to seeing without the constant stream of targets that Philip Rivers was peppering him before. So that is our take on Keenan Allen. Let us know what you think in the comment section below, and also hit that like and subscribe button for more videos like this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.